Hi Flosstube, it's Matt, aka Stitcher Moose. Welcome to my channel where I talk about my love of my cross-stitching obsession, which has rekindled after 8 or 10 years away. So I have the batch of the first 10 videos that are out there from several years ago, and as of Flosstube 11, a couple of weeks ago, the middle of October 2025, today is Saturday, right? November the 1st. Yesterday was Halloween. And yesterday was also oral surgery. So I have kind of like an Invisalign thing on my upper teeth, which is just making it a lot of fun to talk. So anyway, hi, welcome. This is the channel where I already said that part. I'm to the welcome part, which is welcome. If the algorithm overlords have brought you here, then this is where I talk about cross stitch and some other things. Like in this video, I'll do whips, and I have a new old start. So it was a whip from 10 years ago, but I've restarted it now. And I've got some plans. Some more specific plans than I had last time. And I'm going to try not to say this word because we'll be here for a half hour with all this stuff going on in my mouth. I'll try not to let it distract me too much, but I know it's going to. So welcome to new folks. If you just got here, if you're a new subscriber, and there's like 60 of you from 2 weeks ago, which is amazing. Thank you and welcome. And to all my old Stitchy friends, that I still can't believe how many of you all stuck around. So welcome all, and all are welcome here. I won't go on much about it, but I'm not even going to go into politics and all of that nonsense. Oh, I could go on for hours on that whole subject. Let me just sum it up by saying this is a safe space and all are welcome. And society's judgment can go take a long walk off a short pier. So, here is what we're talking about today. Again, so whips, plans. Somebody asked me to do a side quest about our dog, the Nova Scotia duck tolling retriever, who is not here this weekend because Mrs. Moose and River are up in the mountains, and he's chasing bears and deer and chipmunks and squirrels and everything else that runs around through the woods up there. But I can give you some information about the breed and about our dog, and I don't know, whatever hopefully is interesting about him. Because it's not that common. I think the breed is only officially recognized like 20 years ago by the AKC. So anyway, we'll do that. And then I would like to do a brief bit on some of my other hobbies. So kind of a long form over many videos. I'll kind of update the Know Your Needleworker video that I did extensively years ago. So let's see. So let's get into whips. I'm gonna have to pause because in between recording the 51 minutes of video that I just tried to export and it disappeared, this is my happy face about that, I moved a bunch of stuff back off the side of the couch here, so be right there. Okay, we're back. And so whips, the Thomas Jefferson book quote, which I think for the first time this happened. I was watching a bunch of floss tubes, and I've subscribed to dozens more that are new from when I used to watch them before. And one of them was Sarah the Attic Stitcher. I think that is the name. I'll put the whole correct channel title there. I don't know if it's the fact that I recorded all of this and then deleted it that's making my brain short circuit, or just the usual neurodivergence. Anyway, Sarah the Attic Stitcher did a video, not the most recent one, but the one before that, where she had her sister come and rate her whips in like least favorite to favorite. And of the 10, the 10th least favorite was Thomas Jefferson's book quote. And I think that's the first time that's happened where I have been stitching something that I've never seen anybody else stitch and then seen somebody else actually stitch it. So that was kind of cool. So, okay, stop it. So here's where I was in the previous video. And now here I am on, yes, it's the 5th different frame that I've had this on as I'm relearning and refinding all of the stuff that I have. So here's where I am now. And if you were looking at the whole pattern, these are the last 3 rectangles of the border that I have to do. So it's these 3 right here. The rest of all of the border is done. The words are done. So I just have those 3 and then the book motifs and the signature, and we'll get that done. So that should be a finish next time, because I have this whole weekend to sit and stitch, because I'm not supposed to do anything strenuous, and I'm although I'll tell you, getting mad at deleting an entire Flosstube video is pretty strenuous, but I'm past it. So where are we? Yeah, finishing these, and what else can I say about this? I know what it was. This stitching these patterns here has reawakened my thought from 10 years ago. I think it was that I saw a lot of people stitching death by cross stitch, and at that point that was way too much for me to tackle, but I feel like I could get there now. I would need a big piece of fabric, and I do have it in my basket on the site. I just haven't quite pulled the ripcord on that yet to get it, just to make sure that that's what I wanted to do. But I think now doing those intricate motifs and makes me think that I want to get either dye a piece of fabric myself, or find the right kind of fabric. And I'll take suggestions if anybody has an idea on this. Although I could probably go out there and search for it on YouTube and it would show up, but because so many people have stitched it. But I'm thinking on like a lightly modeled piece of fabric, and then doing not a single color, but like a variegated floss. I think that would look amazing. I think I've seen that by others. So that is a piece of inspiration that I've gotten from this. Also, this green, this deeper green, will come up again. For instance, in my I forgot to say this. Something else about this. The kit shows this in like an ivory, but the fabric that came with the kit is white Aida, 18 count, stitching 2/1. So that was a little disappointing. And also that I probably did put I don't know if I put the details in there or not, but it is by Barbara Bangser for the Posy collection. So I will always be obsessed with this kit, because it's what reawakened my stitchy bug and got me back into this. So, and I'm really pleased I did, because I really enjoy the Flosstube community, and I'm glad to be back and glad to have been welcomed back even after taking so long a break. So that deep green, I think, when I look at my next whip, which is, and I'll put a picture here of the, because I'm not going to go get the cover for this kit. This was a Dimensions kit called Truck. It amuses me so. And here's where I was on this previously. And here is where I am now. So I think I've done, certainly the green is new and probably some of that red. This green is a little, long story short, I think I'm going to pull this out and go with something that is more like that green, because it's a Christmas wreath and that just seems like a more Christmassy color. This is like a very pale, washed out sort of green, and that's not a vibe that I'm going for. So yeah, that's certainly going to happen. And I'm kind of mixing up plans and whips. Bear with me, or I don't know, maybe you like that I'm this goofy. I have no idea. And I hope one day to be more organized, but when I think to myself that I'm going to make extensive notes and be like lockstep organized, that just means I'll never record a video, because I would take forever to do that, and then, then I would just lose all my momentum. So what this has inspired, I don't know if it's inspired it, but I just thought it was interesting that another plan that I have is from an issue of Stitcher's World magazine from 2001 that also has a central word in that kind of, what color is that? Garnet sort of red, like deep red. And then also has sort of a, I have to get the magazine to show you. Hold on. So this is, again, Stitcher's World magazine from October, November 2001. And this is a Christmas, this is finished as a pillow, I think. I don't know if I'll do that, but I do have a piece of fabric. I found a whole bunch of fabric that I had in stash I didn't even remember that I had. But I have a 28 count even weave in, is that ivory? And I think I'm going to stitch this on that. But, the garnet, that's that same sort of color. But see how the green is sort of, it's not really like a deep Christmas, like here's this Christmas tree green. That's what I want on this design. So I think that is what I will do. So there's another plan. And I will get that going, if not before Thanksgiving, then right after. Which, as we all know, right after Thanksgiving, as soon as Santa shows up at the end of the Thanksgiving Day parade, that's when you can put out Christmas decorations. Now, you can stitch Christmas before then. That's fine. But the other rule stands. And my tongue is firmly in cheek when I say that. Cheek is a hard word to say when you have a big plastic thing in your mouth. Wait a minute. There's another pattern that was partially in this magazine. Talk amongst yourselves while I flip magazine pages. Okay. Santa and his Arctic friends, and I'll try and put up a better picture than that. But only half of the pattern was in here, because the first part of the pattern was in the September 2001 issue, and the finishing instructions to make it a stocking were in the January 2002 issue. Mrs. Moose found the whole pattern for sale online, and so that is in my inbox. And I have a piece of, I think it's a piece of linen, like 32 count. I think it is a 32 count piece of linen that I want to stitch this on, which is going to make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, see, this was stitched on 18 count white Aida, and if I do 32 count over 2, that's going to make it 16 count, so it'll be about 10% bigger. The design size is 13.5 by 22, so it's going to end up being 15 by 24, and the piece of fabric I have is 20 by 27. That's not going to leave but 1.5 inches on the top and the bottom, but I think I can work with that. How big a risk is this? Because this is, I mean, that's a big project to tackle. I don't want to screw it up. But I think that's a perfect piece of fabric for it. So these are the fun things that I'm re-teaching myself as I go. So there's another plan. And I would like to start that one again before Christmas. But I'll really be motivated to do Christmas things after Thanksgiving, because that's when you can play Christmas music. However, also, it's the busiest time of the year. I'm going to be busy with work. Home stuff's going to be busy. It's going to be crazy. Now, the most exciting whip I've got is, first of all, here's the floss drop. Oh, wait a minute. I actually have a board here. That was probably way too close. My apologies. So here we are. And we're getting all kinds of reflection on that because I didn't take the plastic off of that. So these are the colors, and they are DMC that I had in stash. And I'm sure some of you are familiar with what happens when you leave bobbinated floss in a Rubbermaid tote for 8 years. Can you iron floss? Or, as I used to do when I stitched, and I just remembered, but I took a couple strands of one of these and just ran it through my fingers with water. So like extreme floss licking, but I'm not going to actually lick 36 inches of floss. That would be unhinged. So, I have a little water dish that I have all by my Stitchy stuff, my Stitchy corner there. And I just run it through, and that sort of straightened it out, and that works. So is there a better way to straighten floss than that? Or does it not matter? It probably would matter. I don't know if it would matter or not. Does your tension take care of that issue, or what is the Stitchy world's thought on floss with wrinkles? So, and I'm having another thought here. I'm going to table it just for a second, and that is about this stuff. This is a disaster. I apologize. Thread magic. More on that in a second. So, the big Afghan sort of cross-stitch blanket, which I showed as an old whip in my previous video. That's where I was on it. It had 3 animals done, and then part of a 4th animal's frame. So here is where I am at on that now. There's the 3rd animal. So the other 2 are up here. There's the 3rd animal, and I finished the frame on the 4th. Google image search is amazing because it did come up with a Facebook marketplace page that was selling exactly this pattern, but the details weren't really there other than it was a cotton cross stitch blanket. But the bottom line is, this is essentially a big blanket that has 20 stitchable areas like that. So you can see the pattern, and then there's the stitchy area, which is essentially a 7-inch square of 14 count. Very loose weave, but it is 14 count because those are 43 stitches square, and they're just about exactly 3 inches. So that's 14 count, legit. So I can fit 4 of those because they come out, well, I just said, 4 of those 3-inch, yes, 4 of those 3-inch square animal motifs will fit in each of these 20. So there's going to be 80 animals. That's a lot of animals. So, and what is this called? It is called, not the Wild Kingdom, not, I just did this. Hold on a second, I'm gonna find it. Here it is. I'm gonna try and do this without showing the patterns. In a Rubbermaid bin, or this might have been hanging in a pillowcase in the closet. So I'm holding my paper patterns with it. And this paper pattern was in a book. And that book is The Lodge Look by Linda Gillum. I think I showed this last time. The American School of Needlework. And the particular project with all those animals is called, hold on, Wild Animal Kingdom. So that's what their stitched on blanket was, and I couldn't find exactly that. So I probably bought this in Michael's. I know I wasn't going to Hobby Lobby 10 years ago. It almost certainly had to be Michael's. I think that's where I got anything stitchy 10 years ago. So that's where those animals are from. So there's 6 animals in that. I don't want to stitch the same 6 animals 80 times. So I will be looking for, and if anybody has and can point me in the direction of patterns that are 43 square, or that I can fake it into 43 square. Like I think I have a bee pattern that is a little bit less than that, and if I put it in a frame, I think I can make it work. And I want to include some bees because this is going to be Mrs. Moose's blanket, because she's always cold, and I have Viking blood, so I would keep it 62 degrees year round in here if I could. But if I had had that attitude for 36 years, I wouldn't have stayed married long. So I want to find some more animals to put on there. Love moose, of course. There is a moose in those, amongst those 6. And then a big cat and a ram and an elk and a bear and a, I don't know, wolf probably. Yep, and the moose. Yep. So that's a whip. Is that all the whips? I am doing the laundry, laundry today or naked tomorrow. And this is where I was on that. I have not stitched on that in the interim. What else? That's really it. Did I mention the floss drop? And I just learned that these were called floss drops. I didn't know that before. These aren't 100% ideal, but I like them because Mrs. Moose had her dad make them for me for a Christmas gift, 8 or 10 years ago. And I just put some blue painter's tape. I live my life with blue painter's tape now. I'm not going to put a picture up, but blue painter's tape is how I held an ice pack on my face yesterday when I got home from surgery. I am not even kidding. So I put some blue painter's tape, I get a little fine tip Sharpie and put the DMC numbers in this case. And that is, I don't know, it's a decently cool way to keep the floss and not be working from bobbins, which I'm getting out of that bobbin life. I'm doing something different. I'm gonna like take over part of a closet or something, and there's gonna be a bunch of floss hanging. My brain is going off into what are the things I can do in my closet. So let's not do that. But I am gonna take a little side trip into silastic polymers. I went deep into this rabbit hole 10 years ago when it was thread heaven. And I found my little cube of thread heaven. And that, you know, I had a little tear in my eye because, not actually, but close, because I loved using it. And right as I got, you know, into using it, they stopped making it. So, yeah, I think they stopped in 2017. So I just have that cube of it. And I have been in stitching store or various whatever craft shops or something and looked for something similar, or I guess I would go and look, even though my stitching bug was gone, I would look at the cross stitch patterns and I wasn't feeling it, and I didn't know where any of my stuff was or if I even still had it. But I would look in the cross stitch sections and I noticed, try to say cross stitch sections with the aforementioned gob of plastic on my teeth. I apologize for being so easily distractible, but that's the Stitcher Moose package, okay? So, where was I? Train of thought, come back down the track. Here we are. Thread heaven was a polymer, sort of like rubber cement, without the tackiness, without the stickiness of glue. And as a thread conditioner, I liked it better than beeswax because it was less tacky. And the chemical properties of the polymer did things to the ions in the thread that create less static electricity as you're pulling one thread through another, and that creates, I'm not going to go into the physics, but you know, if somebody out there wants to, that's fine, or request it, and I'll make that a side trip. More than this is a side trip or side quest. So there was no thread heaven for years, and as I got my Stitchy bug back now, and I went to get a few things, because before I found my, you know, when all I had was the Thomas Jefferson book quote kit, I needed I needed the good fabric scissors, my Velociraptor scissors as I call them, and I needed some needle minders and things like that. And when I was buying that stuff, I saw they had this, which looked a lot like thread heaven, but it's thread magic. I've had that upside down. I wonder if that's been true the whole time. So this is, are we still using this? Because I've watched hundreds of Flosstubes in the last month or two, and I haven't seen anybody mention it, but then I haven't really watched like Stitch With Me's as much as I have just like Whip Parades and, I mean, I've seen like hauls and things, but so yeah, nobody's mentioned thread magic. It is, as far as I can tell, the same thing. Either Thread Heaven or this actually uses a patented product by the DuPont Corporation. So I stand to be educated. Is the DuPont Corporation, are we supporting them? Are we not? Guide me, Flosstube, please. So bottom line is, This is, as far as I can tell, this product, that's probably not the patented formula for a silastic polymer, but it is close. So I like the thread magic. So that's what I'm doing now for, like, especially the kinky floss. Stop giggling. And I'm looking at you, Megan and Sunshine. Thank you for the shout out, but you ladies are going to be separated by the teacher. You're great company, but holy moly. Anyway, the floss goes through the water, gets it straight. The thread magic takes away the static electricity, makes it a little easier to handle, glides through the fabric better, which on this project, not a big deal because, first of all, 14 count and very loose weave. Pulling thread through this is like pouring steam from a bucket. Not a lot of resistance. But in like on like a 28 count even weave or Lugana, or I did find a piece of Lugana, it might have been 25 count, or like the 32 count linen, trying to get those, that's going to be, you know, a tight squeeze, and I can see where the thread magic would really help with that if we're still using it. So that's probably it for the Stitchy stuff. Did I do all the plans that I had? I think I did. So I'm going to pause here and I will queue up the dog stuff, and not the dog stuff, but the things about the dog. And then the bit of a parade of the Zentangle, the drawing stuff that I did, which was a hobby that I did engage with a little bit, even when my Stitchy bug hadn't come back. So yeah, let's go into those, and then a little wrap up, and I think we'll be good. I hope I've included, or I am including, everything I did in the first video. I'm so mad at myself, or at my iPhone, I don't know which, but one of them. Somebody's to blame. Something is to blame. And have I apologized yet? I'm not apologizing. I'm just saying I know I'm not wearing the red flannel because I'm in full casual mode to heal my face. But I do have my backup red flannel up my back, so it's never far. All right, enough dilly-dallying, and let's pause here and get into the dog thing. Welcome back, or welcome back me, whichever. Now we are going to, and I'm looking down on my iPad here where I have some other notes about the dog. And the dog, again, is up in the mountains, so he's not here, but I have roughly 4 billion pictures, which I'm sure I am going to run through over here after a title page, if you will, about the Nova Scotia duck-tolling retriever from the AKC website. So here's that. And again, he is a Nova Scotia duck-tolling retriever, which I believe is the longest official AKC breed name. At least it was a few years ago, unless they've added one since. So, yeah, he is AKC registered, and yeah, I've never done that before. He cost 100 times what our first dog cost. So fascinating. But that's what a dog costs from a good breeder. So, and it was a good breeder. He is a good dog, and his full name, AKC registered name, is Cedar Creek Red River Scout. We don't ever call him that. he couldn't be in enough trouble for us to use all of those names. Mostly we call him, well, not mostly, but his casual shortened nickname, if you will, is River. So the other things that I call him, or that Mrs. Moose calls him, so as I said, you know, Cedar Creek Red River Scout. So I call him River Scout, River Scoop, River Butt, Fuzz Butt, Fuzz Face, Adventure Boy. I call him Goober a lot. Goober Paws. Mrs. Moose calls him, well, we call him the Britishisms of Doggo and Pupper. She calls him Puppa. Pupperoo sometimes. And for some reason, I started calling him Pupper Noodle when I get home from work. It's the only time I call him that, and I don't know why, but it's just what it is. I come home, he is just waking up from an 8-hour nap. He does a big stretch as I come in the door from the garage. I think it's the garage door opening that wakes him up. And I say, hello, Pupper Noodle. And then we say big stretch, because it doesn't count if you don't say big stretch. I also call him Scoob, Scooby, and Scoobert, but never Scooby-Doo, because that's Scooby-Doo. And for some reason, Mrs. Moose calls him Fred. Sometimes. So there you have it. How do you turn off an iPad? I'm not even going to edit that out, because it is what it is. So, the dog. And as I'm sure I've been inserting here, also he is a furious ball of energy. And what is the job of the duck tolling retriever? His job is to toll, or to be a toller, which is kind of the nickname of the breed. Oh, is that a toller? Yeah, it's toller. And it's his job, if he were a hunting dog, would be to dance around in the edge of the water and just play and make a big fuss, and the white on his paws and on his chest, on his forehead, and his big flash of a tail, all of that activity and visual tolling is playing in the water. So he is drawing in the waterfowl, and then the hunters do their thing, and then he does the retriever part and retrieves, which I think I have a little video of him retrieving a duck toy here. So he's not trained as a gun dog. He is, like many dogs, afraid of loud noises, fireworks, gunfire, which we have a lot in the country here. So, yeah, he is active. He's like 2/3 the size of a golden retriever. Here's what he looks like standing on a coffee table. And I think in that picture that I'm going to put up here, he's holding his mango in his mouth. And his mango has like crosshatches on it, and he gets peanut butter treats in that. And that keeps him busy for about 15 minutes, so we can eat dinner without him drooling on my thigh, which is a thing he does. Oh, what else? I don't know why I'm looking over there. There's no dog over there. You know what there is over there? Dog hair. You can't send the Roomba out enough to capture all the dog hair, because he's got 3 coats. Now, I probably have pictures of some of the coats or something. And yeah, that's what a cold weather water dog needs, 3 coats. So probably won't shed as much now that we're getting into the winter, but man, come spring, holy moly, you open the windows and it's like tumbleweeds blowing through the house, no matter how often you sweep or vacuum. So that's a toller. He's, we wanted a dog that, what we've always had, like retriever mixes or golden mixes, and we wanted a dog that was a little smaller than that. I think we didn't count on as much energy as he has, but if you take him for a lot of walks and throw snowballs for him to chase and jump after, he also, as soon as we built the shed, when we moved in here, within months, a bunch of rabbits moved in from the fields, next door. All the sheds in this neighborhood have rabbits living under them. Why a rabbit would choose to live in a yard where there is a furious rabbit chasing dog like this, but he gets so much exercise going out at 5 in the morning when I wake up, and there is almost always a rabbit out somewhere in the yard, and he goes tearing off after him, and that is a heck of a way to wake up, probably for him and the rabbit. So anyway, he's fun, and he's having a great time this weekend. That is the Nova Scotia duck tolling retriever, and River with all his 25 different names. So now I'm going to insert something about the other hobbies. At some point I'll show the plastic model. I don't do many of them, but I do love assembling a plastic model, and the car that I've always been obsessed with in my life is a 1956 Chevy Bel Air. So at some point I will show the plastic car model. It's not a Bel Air because I can't, for some reason, find whoever makes these models doesn't make the actual Bel Air from 1956. They have a 57, but the 57 can go drive off in that direction because that car just tries way too hard to look like it has a jet tail fins on it. No, thank you. Let's do the 56, a proper car. But the model that I've got, which is close, is, I think it's the level below the Bel Air. Do I care way too much about this? No, I don't. It's the Del Rey, I think, which is like the level down from the top end Bel Air. I think that's how I figured out what that is. I had never heard of the Del Rey, but anyway, it looks like the Bel Air, and I'm building it, and I will show you that at some point. Just probably not in this video because it's out in the garage and it might have spiders on it. And we're just not doing that right now. But I do have all my Zentangle stuff, so I'm going to insert a video with maybe a voiceover here about all of that. And then I'll be back for a wrap-up. So I apologize for the portrait. It should be landscape, but we're just not going to take the time to figure that out. This is, for the most part, a selection of Zentangles, which are kind of repeating motifs or designs or doodles or drawings that is like cross stitch in that the process of creating them is very Zen-like. And what I really love is kind of the 3D effect of that there, the shading and the 3D effect of the ball, and how a simple line drawing can create those kinds of, I love that repeating curly-Q design there and those rounded cylinders, and then the very intricate line work here, which makes me think of like Long Dog samplers and why I would like that a lot. I love these kind of paisley designs that I went with there. So look into, if you're interested, there's plenty of info about Zentangle online, and I don't know what was going on there. It's like a fever dream, but yeah, so that's the drawing hobby. I can't believe I've had to come back again, but I did say I would do a wrap-up, and the wrap-up also got eaten. I have no words. Anyway, yeah, so that's really all I've got for now. Hopefully this export and upload goes well and doesn't crash and burn like the last one did. Thank you again. Welcome new subscribers, new folks that have found, old Stitchy friends. If you stayed this long, thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for any likes, subscribes, comments especially. I try to like every comment. I read all of them. And I just, I love engaging with the community. We're all just supporting and inspiring each other, and that feels really good. And love making new Stitchy friends, and the algorithm has been really good at putting new Flosstube accounts in for me to see, and their recommendations are usually spot on, because most every channel that I've looked at that gets recommended, or if I just search on Flosstube, is something where I either am in awe of what is being created, or I want to create something like that myself, or I'm getting ideas for how to, what fabrics to use and how to use different kinds of, getting into overdyed floss and variegated threads, just all the good stuff. Keep it coming. You don't have to listen to me. Of course you're going to keep it coming. So thank you for all of that. And thank you again for watching. Find me on Instagram at Stitcher_Moose. And if you have a Flosstube channel, go ahead and drop it in the comments. And I am happy to subscribe and, just follow everybody's journey as we're as we're doing this hobby that we love. All right. Until next time. And I'm going to shoot for probably a cadence of like every 2 weeks or so. No promises going into the holidays and with busy work and everything going on, but I have a feeling I'll be able to, one, it'll keep me accountable and keep me stitching, which I don't think is going to be much of a problem because that's so much better than sitting on my couch scrolling, doom scrolling. Nobody needs that. This is so much better for anybody's mental health. So yeah, that's it for now. Until next time, hopefully in a couple of weeks. I'm not even going to say Happy Thanksgiving yet because I will see you before then. That's my commitment. All right. Until then, be well. Be kind to everyone you can be kind to and to yourself. And happy stitching.